बोले सोने हाल सासरी अकाल।
Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
My name is Paljani.
My name is Tanya Viddi. We'd like to welcome everyone worldwide watching the Late Show tonight with Bal and I.
I'm glad you remember that. Actually, last time we guessed like before we go into details and introducing the guest, please either to see second chance on another Saturday guest. We really need to thank him in the show which effort karke sarna laye. This is all because of you. Honestly, मेरा टानिया दे कहीं मकसद हुंदा कि ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਯੰਗਸਟਰਸ ਨੂੰ not only ਲੜਕਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਭੈਣਾਂ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਪਲੀਜ਼ ਗੈਟ ਫੋਕਸ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਹੈਲਪ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਵੀ ਕੈਨ ਓਨਲੀ ਡੂ ਸੋ ਮਚ ਇੰਡੀਵਿਜੂਅਲ ਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਫੈਸ਼ਨਲ ਹੈਗੇ ਜੌਬ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਉਹ ਦਿਖਾ ਕੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਐਨਕਰੇਜ ਕਰ ਸਕੇ
Of course, just pressing further on what Bal has said, is every time we do bring an educational or informative show towards you, is we've got the listed at the bottom of the screen telephone number or an email address that you can get in contact with anyone in relation to recruitment or a certain professional background that you would like to get into. So please do get in contact with our guests every time we bring them on.
Before we introduce the guest, ਅਸੀਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਥੋੜਾ clip ਦਿਖਾਵਾਂਗੇ. And soon after the clip, we do talk to the guest, introduce karke. Please, the line will be open 0208 571 4279. To call karke to see. Please get connected with the guest. And जो भी सवाल चाहोगे तो सी कर सकते हो तो ऐसे पहले clip watch कर लेंगे.
Definitely.
Crash, crash, crash.
Tanya, you know, I get so excited. I only wish I can go not too many, few years back. And I'm not giving away my age, but honestly, मैंने बहुत feel हो रहा है कि you know some people जब ज़िंदगी पास हो जाती है तो उसी सोचते I should have done this, I should have done this. मेरा और टानिया का मकसद होता है लेट शो सिर्फ आई हैगा जिस तरह कि मैं चीज़ में पछताना कि मेरी opportunity miss हो गई. Please don't let that happen to you.
Of course, and without no further delay, I think we should introduce our guest. So you can, again, pressing on the fact that what Bal has mentioned just before we show the clip, call in, take advantage of any sort of advice that you would like in terms of recruitment within the police service. Today is your day to call in on 0208 571 4279. I can never quite memorize that number, but please do jot the number down. We've also got an email address listed at the bottom of the screen for you to get in touch with him directly. So
शायद फील करो कॉल करके प्लीज जितना भी सवाल करना get connected with the inspector तो लोग जो सवाल होंगे आंसर करेंगे. I think go down straight to Inspector बलविंदर सिंह.
वाहिगुरू जी का खालसा वाहिगुरू जी की फतेह.
भाजी मैं ते पता नहीं केड़ी जुबान च कहां कि पहला ते एक पुलिस ऑफिसर उत्तो सरदार होके you look so fantastic, so handsome.
Oh, thank you very much.
I changed my wording now.
Firstly, can I just say I'm just delighted to be back again.
And, no, it's nice to have you back.
It's nice that the audience enjoyed the last show, and I've had some really good responses, and thank you for inviting me back into the studio. So
yes, did the Inspector Blavinder ne said this is last show in the sense ke वापस कोशिश करेंगे लेके आने पर take advantage of this show. पाजी बहुत अच्छा लगता है, really nice, honestly look so smart. मेरा तो honestly मैं बहुत पछता रहा कि मैंने लाइन पर I'm not blaming bless my mother. मैंने उन्हें जान नहीं देता कि नहीं पुत्र रोबो में dead body, कि तू नहीं जाना, मामा ने होता सारा कुछ. तुसी अपने को experience also with something bad, something good, totally services. How do you feel?
And I think, Paji, one of the things you said there is taking the opportunity. And in the old days, ਜਦੋਂ ਹੁਣ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਰਦਾਰ ਸੀਗੇ, ਸਿੱਖ ਸੀਗੇ, so they had to take the opportunity. They had to stand up for what was right. They had to do the right thing. And now people are given a choice. But it's still a great career. So
it's a very well respected career. I think that's the best way to say it.
Respected and very interesting.
Yeah.
And the variety. I think
you don't get bored with it.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned last time in terms of the variety, 136 different roles you can do as a police officer. We have under 600 roles for police staff with all different types of vacancies and in terms of different roles. And for me as a police officer, I've done many different roles and I'm coming up to 28 years in the service. So in a couple of years, hopefully, I'll be able to do more appearances with you, Buzzy, because I'll have more time. But you know, some of the experiences, and it's whole different aspects of it. When I started early in my career, I was a training detective, and I was out with one of my other colleagues, and we were driving around, and I just said to him, you know what, I'm going to get a job, and when I say a job, I'm going to get somebody who's doing wrong within an hour. So as we're driving around, and I see this car in front of us, and it was a Ford XR3i, and I said to him, I said, you know, there's something not right. He said, oh yeah, you're just saying that. I said, no, there's something not right, because I could see the low.
Sorry, मैं interrupt नहीं करता, but a police officer will gift है ये because
You have that instinct.
Your instinct
Yeah.
है ये तो you pick up a car and then makes me wonder why did you stop me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was a couple of things on the vehicle, it just didn't look right. So we were in a plain car, in plain clothes. So we started calling up for a uniform car to stop the vehicle. But the person had seen us that we were following them, so they'd triggered, you know, they'd actually worked out that we were police officers. They pulled to the side. So as they pulled to the side, I said to them, right, you know, this, I'm so-and-so, so I identified myself, and I said, we need to check the vehicle. So started checking the vehicle, and I could see all the numbers on the engine, they all been rubbed out, and the chassis numbers being grinded out. So,
Which would raise suspicious.
and then, yeah, raised my suspicion,
Yeah.
and thinking, and in terms of, I did some checks, on the number plate, it didn't quite work out. And at that time, I had enough suspicion to arrest the person. So I arrested the person, took them to the police station, and, you know, they were interviewed, but I still couldn't find enough on the vehicle. And in those days, the record system used to be slightly different. So, and I was trying to find out, see if I could, you know, get it, as we used to say, get the job home, is like have enough evidence to show that, you know, that something wasn't right. So I did inquiries, and there was about 3 people who had Ford XR3Is who'd been stolen. So I invited them to the police station. The first one came along, and they said that, no, that's not my vehicle. And when the second person came along, and this was the day before the suspect was going to return back on bail. So when they came up, and they stood in the yard, they said, you know what? They said, that's my car. And I was thinking, you know, they probably just want a car.
Everyone wants to claim a car like that, yeah.
And they said, I'll tell you how it's my car. And then they said, if there is a matchstick under the sensor, and then that'll be my car. And that's something so unique, you know, because they said the sensor in the vehicle was moving. So what I did, I put a matchstick under it. So I thought, yeah, that's really good. So we went up to the car, had a look inside, opened the door, looked under the sensor, and there was a matchstick.
Really?
So,
And that was his
"Teel
car."
thalle ditti isgi." So on the teel, you know, that counted as evidence, and it went to court, and that person was convicted, and
Really?
they actually got a prison sentence, yeah, for that. So
But you know what? I've always wondered this now. As a police lady or a policeman, is it there a sense of where you,
Sixth sense.
you know, no, where you feel, oh, you know what? Let them go. I won't say nothing to him. I'll let them go. But is it because you feel that you're obliged by your
I
duty?
think you asked him on the television.
I know, but do you never get that feeling, as you know, that because your job can sometimes be mixed with personal emotions, and our personal emotions usually say, no, I feel really bad, no, let this person go. Obviously not in a circumstance like
I'll
that.
put it the other way. Are you supposed to have a personal emotional feelings in there?
yeah, there's 2 aspects of it. I
Yeah.
mean, one aspect is that you got to do the right thing.
Okay, yeah.
And that's the big thing. So, and the other one is that police officers do have discretion. You know, in terms of the individuals they're dealing with, and it depends on, with certain jobs, there is amount of discretion you have. Obviously, if it's more serious, you know, there's going to be a victim at the end of it. So, and you know, you got to put the victims and the witnesses at the heart of everything we do. So that's really important to us. So in terms of when you ask that thought process, probably that's what goes through my mind, you know, and that's what...
I'll tell you a one short story. It's a longer one, personal experience. Where I was driving like an idiot, to be honest. I was getting late and I'm going this way, overtaking left road when I should have, you know. And one unmarked police car stopped me,
Yeah.
and I thought I had it. And soon he came to me. He was with a lady, 2 of them. Obviously, they needed a witness.
Yeah.
And he came up to, he caught me out of the car. He said, right, give me your license, I'm going to bail you. straight. Because he knew what the way I was driving was not right, I was very rough, I was dangerous. And I said to myself, wow, this is bad. And I tell you, koi shakti hundi, kuch hundi hai na, something came into me. And I did not defend myself. I put up such a nice, not a defense, but plea kind of thing. You know, the guy shook his head. He said, I've never done in my life ever do the first one. I'm going to let you go. I'm sorry.
Don't take his name on
So we don't want to encourage people like saying
But
that.
I mean, you know, the thing is, I mean, there's a lot of emotions involved as well as being a policeman. I think a lot of people assume, they either assume that the job's hard or they assume the job's easy. And when they assume the job's easy, I think they mean that they just sit in the car and arrest people. Not really. You look after our well-being in a community, as well as actually having to deal with your personal emotions whilst you're doing that job. To think, right now the victim needs me, and you know, I need to sort this and I need to do this. I mean, there's a lot going on in that terms of processing. And it was the responsibility for a policeman or a police lady is quite a lot.
So for a police officer, yes. And I think that's what's really important, is that, you know, we are all humans and we're trying to do a good job. The emotions, you know, you go through them, but actually it's that approach of being professional. You know, it's about doing the right thing. It's about delivering justice for those people who've been affected. So
because
when you have that at the heart of what you're doing, you know, then actually it balances out, and you know, every individual's going to go through emotions, and you know, when things happen, when, you know, we were behind this car, you know, the adrenaline was going, and you know, when we're doing all the checks, so and then right to the end of, you know, when the person said, oh look, I'll put a matchstick under it, you can imagine the walk, you know, from the gates actually up to the car, opening the door and looking under the sensor. You can imagine the excitement, you know, when seeing that, and then thinking, actually, you know, I'll be able to prove it.
I must tell the viewers, देखो जिन्हें ऐसी story discuss करते हैं, particular personal experience, we cannot do any better to make you encourage and really pick up a call and call करके पता करो. It's a very, very, very interesting job. जैसे अपने inspector ने सारी story दसी ने, the best part I picked up, they were not in uniform. And when they came up after the car, the first thing you do is in style, you bring up your ID and show to them. That's a killer. You know what I mean?
I know. Before we ask the question, let's just take this phone call because I've got a really interesting question for you. Hello?
Hello जी, कौन बोल रहे हो?
मैं बहादुर सिंह मट्टू बोल रहा जी।
पाजी कित्थों बोल रहे हो?
मैं लीड तो बोल रहा जी।
पाजी थोड़ा साडा लेट शो ते स्वागत करते हैं। इंस्पेक्टर साहब सुन रहे हैं, तुसी की सवाल पूछना चाहते हैं?
सत श्री अकाल पाजी।
मैं जाना भी जिद्दां मैं टैक्सी ड्राइवर हां।
हाँ जी।
मैं 3-4 वारी मेरा पुलिसमैन नाल बाह पै चुका है। ते जे तुसी मैं ये कहूंगा वो गोरे पुलिसमैन ही सारे।
हाँ जी।
एक बारी मैं ज्यादा बैड ही ਕੀਤਾ ਮੈਂ ਪੁਲਿਸਮੈਨ ਨੂੰ ਨਾ ਕਾਲ ਕਰਦਾ ਤੇ I nearly taken off and shoved him to the field, and then when I said sorry, the policeman said you can go. To me, the way I think, if you policemen, they are end of the day they are the human as well. If you losing that by them, they're gonna be lose that by you. If you be nice to them, they are nice people. Some of them not, mostly you cannot say they all the bad people. They all like us, same like we are human as well. They are nice people. They if you speak to them nice way, they will treat you nice way as well. And I've been stopped by the policeman about 4 times. 4 times. 4 to 5 times actually.
And you've been lucky on 4 times, were you?
हाँ जी।
मैं कहा सारे चांद तुसी lucky रह गए 4 times you've been lucky.
हाँ जी, lucky.
फिर तो पुलिस वाले बहुत चंगे हैं।
पाजी थोड़ी
trying, maybe the 5th time, maybe now we're lucky anyway.
पाजी, and one of the things, ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਪਾਜੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਸੀ ਜੀ, ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ 4 ਵਾਰੀ ਸਟਾਪ ਹੋਏ ਆ, ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਐਕਸਪੀਰੀਅੰਸ ਸੀਗੀ, ਇਹ ਵੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਲਈ ਬਹੁਤ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ ਹੈ, ਪੇ ਕਰਕੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇੰਟਰੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਵੀ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਡੀਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ।
ਤੇ ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਾਕੀ ਇਹ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ ਹੈ ਵੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਆਪਣੇ ਕੌਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬੰਦੇ ਤੇ ਬੀਬੀਆਂ ਵੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੋਊਗੀਆਂ, ਤੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਫਰਕ ਆ, ਪੇ ਕਰਕੇ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਕਲਚਰਲ ਨੀਡਸ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ, ਕਲਚਰਲ ਨੌਲੇਜ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਜੀ, ਤੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਫਰਕ ਹੈ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਉਹ ਡੀਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਤੇ ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਵੀ ਉਹ ਗੋਰੇ ਅਫਸਰ ਸੀਗੇ ਵੀ ਉਹ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਫਿਰ ਐਕਸਪੀਰੀਅੰਸ ਕੀ ਸੀ ਵੀ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਠੀਕ ਸੀਗੇ?
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਅੱਛਾ ਜੀ। ਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਭਾਜੀ ਫਿਰ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਕੀ ਪੁੱਛਣਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਜੀ?
ਮੈਂ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਇਹ ਹੋਊਗਾ, ਮੇਰਾ ਤਾਂ ਇਹ ਮੈਂ ਪੁਆਇੰਟ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਨਾਇਕ ਬਣੋਗੇ
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਉਹ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਨਾਇਕ ਬਣੂਗਾ,
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਰੂਲ ਬਣੋਗੇ
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਉਹ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਡੈਫੀਨਿਟਲੀ ਰੂਲ ਬਣੂਗਾ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਉਹਦੀ ਕੋਈ ਯੂਨੀਫਾਰਮ ਹੈ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਪੁਲਿਸਮੈਨ ਹੋਵੇ,
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਭਾਵੇਂ ਟ੍ਰੈਫਿਕ ਵਾਰਡਨ ਹੋਵੇ,
ਹਾਂਜੀ
if you be nice to be, if you made a mistake, put your hand up, say sorry. He will say, if this person already feels saying sorry, let him go. Because once I've been told by the policeman, before policeman said something to me, I said, I'm sorry. He said, what are you sorry for? I said, I'm sorry. He said, you already said saying sorry, might as well you go. Might as well you go. Because you already admitted you mistake. You put the hand up, I cannot do anything to you, you can go, sorry. You can go, mister, go take a study now.
Paji, thank you very much. So the बहुत शुक्राना करते हैं तुसी अपना एक्सपीरियंस दसिया। Before we पाजी ने गल करिए अपने इंस्पेक्टर नाल, जरा मैं एक्सपीरियंस दसिया जरा सारे कॉलिंग ने दसिया from Leeds. Please don't take that for granted कि तुसी जो sorry कह दो कि हर दफा वर्क आउट करें। Be careful. You're lucky कि कोई अच्छा इंस्पेक्टर निकला हो सकता है। If it's a crime, depend करता है कि तुसी की कितना serious offence है। Sometimes you could have done something very silly, it's unforgivable. And the police will have to use his head than his heart, really.
ਇਹ ਭਾਜੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਹੁਣ ਆਪਾਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਡਿਸਕ੍ਰਿਪਸ਼ਨ ਬਾਰੇ ਕਰਦੇ ਸੀ ਗੱਲ ਆਪਣੇ ਹੁਣ ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਛੇਵੇਂ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਦੀ ਸਾਖੀ ਪੜ੍ਹਦਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਜੀ ਤੇ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਛੇਵੇਂ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਨੇ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਸੀਗਾ ਜੋ ਸ਼ਾਹਜਹਾਨ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਬਚਨ ਬਲਾਸ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਤੇ ਸ਼ਾਹਜਹਾਨ ਨੇ ਤੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਡੀਲ ਕਰਦਾ ਸੀ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਜੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸੀ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਮਿਰਰ ਇਮੇਜ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਜੀ ਇਦਾਂ ਹੈ ਜੇ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਵਧੀਆ ਬੋਲੋਗੇ ਤੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਵਧੀਆ ਡੀਲ ਕਰੋਗੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਸ ਹਿਸਾਬ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਵਰਤੋਂਗੇ ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜ਼ੋਰ ਨਾ ਵਰਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਜ਼ੋਰ ਨਾ ਵਰਤਾਂਗੇ ਤੇ ਇਹ ਸਾਡੇ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਪ੍ਰਿੰਸੀਪਲਸ ਇਹੀ ਹੈ ਜੀ ਜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਡੀਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਤੇ ਕਾਨੂੰਨ ਹੈਗਾ ਮਗਰ if we have to use reasonable force ਪਰ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ in this country is policing by consent ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹੀ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਬਚਨ ਬਲਾਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਤੇ ਮਰ ਜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਜਦ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਬੋਲਣਾ ਵੀ ਹੈ ਜੇ ਕੋਈ ਥੱਲੇ ਕੋਈ ਸ਼ਰਾਬੀ ਵੀ ਡਿੱਗਿਆ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਹੈਲੋ ਸਰ ਤੇ ਪ੍ਰੇਮ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਬੋਲਣਾ ਤੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਜਦ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਸ ਲੈਵਲ ਤੇ ਸਟਾਰਟ ਕਰੋਗੇ ਜੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਫਿਰ it can only be a good thing.
You have no choice but to equal to their level.
But
Yeah, of course.
definitely, I totally agree. I think the especially I'm talking about the UK police, they are really, really humble and polite. Very
In
helpful.
comparison to the United States police, I 100% have to say we have the best police service in terms of which country we live in. We are very, very blessed because we don't, we're not approached by a policeman whereby we automatically are assumed suspicious. Whereby in the United States you are, and they are allowed to do, a forced arrest on you and etc. And they can hurt you. But here, from the extreme that we see, it's like you've mentioned, Inspector Balwinden, you're not going to speak to someone rudely unless they're actually speaking to you rudely. You'll have to kind of go down onto their level. And the same is if you are going to be handing someone with force. The only time that you would have to restrain someone is if they're being a bit abusive towards the community or someone. And of course at that stage. Now, but tell us, we talk about this part of policing, but there must be some parts in 28 years nearly in the police force. There must be some situations that you can tell us, Jay, what you've been involved in, where people at home can say, wow, if I was a policeman or a policewoman or got involved with the police, maybe one day I can be involved in history events that have happened. Tell us other things that you've been involved with.
Firstly, very grateful for your comments. And the thing is, in different countries, they've got different challenges.
Yeah.
And I do appreciate that. And we, the British police, do have a very good reputation. There's the best reputation around the world. But when you go to some other countries, and I know a lot of, colleagues around the world, and they do have, very difficult challenges. So, some of your comments I do,
I know.
understand.
I really don't expect you to agree with us.
They have to deal with the challenges.
Current times are थोड़ा रहते अपना mission statement करके ना then we can go back again on the screen again.
Yeah.
So tell us about the mission statement. If we can have it staying on the screen for a while so our viewers can see and we can just talk over that. Because I think a lot of people don't know what the mission statement is.
Yeah, and I think, last time I was on the show, I was trying to explain in terms of what our mission is, in terms of what our, values and principles are. And and hopefully Sukhay will leave it on the screen for a bit. And when you see, what the Kent Police values are, what the Kent Police priorities are, ਇਹ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਰੂਰਤ ਹੈ ਪਏ ਆਪਣੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਰਹਿਣੀ ਬਹਿਣੀ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਬਹੁਤ ਮਿਲਦੇ ਆ ਤੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਿੱਖ ਪ੍ਰਿੰਸੀਪਲਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਮਿਲਦੇ ਆ so we can understand then in terms of the history ਜਦੋਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ in the past ਜਦੋਂ British ਵੀ ਸੀਗੇ why they worked so closely with the British, whether that was with the police, whether that was in the military, because a lot of our values and principles, same as, as you can see here, there's a lot of what was put out. So, for us, it's, providing a first-class service, protecting and serving the people of Kent. And, I let the viewers read, because I'm not going to regurgitate what's on there, but it's really important, because that's what we represent. When we go out there, we're policing that, so when it becomes that, time where you are, conscious, there's emotions, that's what you turn to, your values and principles,
values,
and
the
then
mission,
and your mission, what you're trying to achieve. So, I over 28 years, I've got many stories. So
I think when we return back from the break, I'm definitely going to want to know about those.
We're talking again about the police officer in the different countries. I don't think कि अच्छी complain करते हैं कि कुछ अंदर ही गादा कि other countries are better than you, they're all equal. But I got one point to make here, which is 100%. I probably do that myself as well. Simple thing: you park your car, and you run out of the time, the pay and display ticket, and the traffic warden comes and slaps a ticket on your windscreen. You get annoyed.
Yeah.
You get really annoyed. You start throwing your arms in the air. You've been very abusive. But Tanya, rightly, you are wrong.
Oh yeah, of course.
But we don't understand that.
No, we don't. I recently encountered an unfortunate situation where I had to go on a speed awareness test. I'm kind of glad I did, because now I'm a much improved driver than what I used to be. But I now understand when the police are constantly advising us, please drive at this speed, please drive at this speed. It's because the stopping time, yourself hitting the brake, in terms of where you stop, is a lot further than expected if you were driving at the speed you need to down that road, or where you are. Very
interesting. The other thing, before the break, there's a speed limit like 50 and 40 on one of the dual carriageways. Suddenly there's a patch, a few hundred yards of speed limit 20 tak aati hai inhone.
Okay.
And every time you see speed limit between 50 and 40, they 20 come in, tell the march on the why. And you know what they're written with the 20? There's a reason behind it. It was give that an answer. This is speed limit 20. They get to the march question, and there's an answer.
And I've worked very closely with the traffic officers. So ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰੋ, and they go to some horrendous accidents, and the experiences, and it's some of it is avoidable, and that's why I really appreciate the job they do.
Inspector Pati, sorry, to interrupt करना है. ऐसी थोड़ा break पे जाएंगे. Please keep tuned in. We'll be back soon after the break. बात मिलना तो नहीं, तब तक रब रखा. वाहिगुरू का
खालसा, वाहिगुरू जी की फतेह.
बोले सोने हाल सासरी अकाल.
106 ਦੇਸ਼ਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਦੇਖੇ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਅਕਾਲ ਚੈਨਲ ਦੇ ਕੋਲ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਦੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਕੋਨੇ ਤੋਂ ਲਾਈਵ ਜਾਂ ਡੀ ਲਾਈਵ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਪੂਰੀ ਟੈਕਨੋਲੋਜੀ ਮੌਜੂਦ ਹੈ. ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਸਾਰਾ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਹਾਈ ਡੈਫੀਨੇਸ਼ਨ ਤੇ ਕਵਰ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾਵੇਗਾ. ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਗੁਰੂ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਦੇ ਪੈਗਾਮ ਨੂੰ ਘਰ ਘਰ ਤੱਕ ਪਹੁੰਚਾਉਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਤਾਂ ਅੱਜ ਹੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਰਿਕਾਰਡ ਕਰਵਾਉਣ ਲਈ ਸੰਪਰਕ ਕਰੋ 07702748906 ਤੇ.
बोले सोने हाल सासरी अकाल.
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ
ਵੈਲਕਮ ਬੈਕ ਆਫਟਰ ਦ ਬ੍ਰੇਕ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਜਾਰੀ ਰੱਖਾਂਗੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਇੰਸਪੈਕਟਰ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਕੇ ਪਲੀਜ਼ ਮੈਂ ਬਾਰ-ਬਾਰ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਆਪਣੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਔਰ ਮੇਰੇ ਭੈਣ ਭਰਾਵਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਿਕ ਅਪ ਦਾ ਕਾਲ very interesting job don't miss out ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਾਲ ਚੈਨਲ ਦੇ ਉੱਪਰ ਮੈਂ ਅੰਟਾਨੀਆ this is what we're trying to do ਅਸੀਂ ਤਾਂ we can only do so much to encourage you ਬਾਕੀ you're going to make an effort and I think we'll go for a clip first Tanya
yep and then we come back to
PCSO ਦਾ ਅਸੀਂ clip ਦੇਖਦੇ
ਇਹ ਭਾਈ ਹੈਗੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਅਫਸਰ ਇਹ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਜੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹ ਵਰਕ ਕਰਨਾ ਜਿਹਦਾ ਪੁਰਾਣੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਬੌਬੀ ਔਨ ਦ ਬੀਟ
ਅੱਛਾ ਬੌਬੀ ਔਨ ਦ ਬੀਟ ਓਕੇ
ਤੇ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਆਪਣੇ ਮੋ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਇੰਗੇਜਮੈਂਟ ਕਰਨੀ ਦੀ ਆਈਜ਼ ਐਂਡ ਈਅਰਸ ਆਫ ਦ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਸੋ ਲੋਕਲ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਸਕੂਲਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਾ ਕਾਲਜਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾਣਾ ਤੇ ਕਾਉਂਸਲ ਮੀਟਿੰਗ ਸਾਰੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਤੇ ਲੁਕਿੰਗ ਐਟ ਇੰਟੈਲੀਜੈਂਸ ਵਿਦਿਨ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਬਟ dealing with community issues.
I saw that there was loads of different sectors that you can get involved in as well.
And one of the exciting things in Kent, what we're doing now is that there's opportunities to specialise in different roles, and I know some of the roles were mentioned, on the screen there. So, you join as a police community support officer. Karke, policing as a police officer is not for everyone, and that's what we cater for. We cater for all different types of personalities and people who've got different desires to do different roles. So whether that's police staff roles or police community support officer, or as a special or as a police officer. So and one of the ones we're now recruiting at the moment is for police community support officers, and there's so many different avenues you can go into, you can specialize in, but also if you enjoy that role, then we have individuals who are very happy in doing in that role, and they want to stay in that role.
Tanya, to be honest, like many people like myself, when you think it's a police officer, you think they're all rounded, they do everything and anything.
Yeah.
It's not like that. It's different department again.
Hanji.
When I say safer, unsafer, in a sense, it's only dangerous job again, dangerous more daring job again. They're not danger, but there are the community ones which are simple, straightforward.
Hanji.
But they're better than 9 to 5 job, sitting in the office, getting bored of the laptop or the computer they put. And you still can do with the police.
There's still that excitement, so you're still involved with the police officers.
I think you've seen quite a lot of excitement, and I think for anyone that's at home to think, who is quite wondering that I want to get involved, I want to be changing my career, or I just want some general advice before I take the step of thinking of getting involved with the police, I think you are that best person that they can get in contact with. Just to remind our viewers again, is at the bottom of your screens you can see the email address that starts with positive. So please jot down that email address if you have a simple query, you're thinking of getting into something and you want some advice from Inspector Balwinder Singh. Take advantage. You can call in today on our lines are open, or you can send an email. But I'm more interested to know, just prior to the break, we asked you that being into the force of nearly 28 years, you really must have seen a lot. And I think that's what our viewers would like to know is what have you been involved in?
I think, there's been some real challenges, and there's been some really exciting jobs I've been involved in. And I shared one of the jobs earlier which I was involved in. And then I went on to a specialist team. And one of the jobs, I was involved in with my team was when there was an attack at the Millennium Dome, on the diamonds, you know, and there's a lot of planning which went into that. And as part of that team, and as my team, after, you know, when the suspects were arrested, that we actually ended up doing a lot of the searches.
Oh wow.
And so that becomes very detailed, you know, it's very methodical, but actually you're trying to achieve the bigger picture. So, you know, for us, you know, it was actually, you know, when you get a little bit of information, you get something which you think actually that, you know, that could be a clue to the part of the investigation. That's very exciting. So, so it doesn't finish, you know, just on the day. And we were doing searches for weeks, you know, after that, at different venues. And for us, when we was leading up to the job, you know, I was actually waiting on our Kent side to go in and, you know, arrest the people. There's other people involved as well. And then having done the arrest and then going to do the searches, you know, run into many weeks. And then you're watching it and, you know, unfold when it's been all shown on TV. And some of it, you know, you see.
What about your motivation? In that point where you just mentioned that it took weeks to do this and it took weeks to do this part of the investigation, where does your motivation come from being an inspector?
I think, you know, at that time, you know, it was about, you know, working as a team. It was, you know, working with everyone else. It's about delivering a professional service. It was really important that, you know, if it wasn't going to happen at, you know, at the first stage or second stage, that you actually, you know, you stayed on to what you were trying to achieve. And it's really important because it doesn't, you know, like some of the TV programs, it doesn't just happen in half an hour. Some of it may take months, some of it may even take years.
I've got a very important question. Sorry, important, but this is something different in my mind. This is for my viewers as well. पहले तो मैं तुम्हें पार्टी नहीं कहूँगा. I think it's best if I call it by inspector. अच्छा लगता है because, you know, it's hard work for 28 years.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
To
you
get
deserve
here.
that title.
And then I call him party. It's not right. It's not politeness anyway. Inspector believe that 28 years. मैं चाहूँगा कि तुसी अपनी public को दसो ताकि जिन्हें देख रहे हैं youngsters, especially लड़के 28 years, was it full of life or was there any time कि तुसी bore हुए? If you think no, this is challenge, you enjoyed it, तो पता नहीं लगे 28 साल कितने गए ने, and you enjoyed every minute, and this is what the message I like you to give to the people.
I think, you know, through a career of 28 years, you're going to have some ups and downs. But it is overall, when you start looking at it, is what you're trying to achieve. And any job, you know, when people do that, you're going to have those times where actually, and it might be just you're doing some mundane job. Actually, then something comes out of it. And we used to do searches where we would do searches, but you know, staying professional. But actually, you're not getting anything. But actually, after a week or something, you might get a clue. You know, you might find something, and that's what makes it. That's what, you know, in terms of the motivation. That's what, in terms of saying, everything I do, I want to make sure, you know, I don't miss out, you know, anything. And I think especially with searching, it's so methodical that you have to make sure that you know, you stay focused.
But when you say stay focused, what do you exactly mean by that? Because stay focused, you could mean I stay focused in my job, I don't let my emotions, or I've got to remember everything involved in being a policeman. What part do you mean that I stay focused?
So in terms of, so for example, if we're saying we're going to be, we may have, and part of the role I used to do was like, even if it was a murder, we used to do the searches afterwards.
Oh God.
So for example, if we're doing a house, you know, in terms of every bit of the house, you have to make sure that you can go away and saying, actually I've searched that and there's nothing that was there, rather than saying actually I've missed the cupboard or I missed it under the carpet. And so that's what I mean when you say stay focused, is that staying professional and delivering that, you know, high level of service basically. So.
The other thing, does it help you being focused in a sense? What you mean by focus? The other focus I can look at is you're going to be an ordinary constable.
Yeah.
Ordinary in the sense where a junior post in here, you might find it boring, maybe something very slow life, body excitement. To people to get you being an inspector, how long? Or that time limit to that, the more you focus, the quicker you come in, you can become an inspector?
There's two roads you can take. One is the promotion side, one is the specialization. And if I say for the enjoyment, actually when I was a police officer, when I was a police constable, most of my enjoyment, most of the times I enjoyed with some of the jobs was probably as a police constable. So in terms of the different roles you can get involved in, because when you look in this country, you get the same level of training, your 2 years training, compared to what you may even get in India for like a DSP, for 2 years. So you are, in terms of anything you're dealing with, you've got to be to a very competent level. Okay. And some people enjoy that, and if I was given that opportunity again, I'd probably say actually I'd probably specialize in different roles and enjoy it more.
Being an inspector, how many people you have under you training in your department?
It all depends on different departments, and whatever department you're under, because they have different resources. So if it's CRD, if it's a specialist role, and I cover the county. So in terms of my role as chairman for the Kent Minority Ethnic Police Association as well, so with people from BME background, so looking at the recruitment, retention, progression of them. So, and we have over 160 and other people coming through. So my job is very varied, and then when you look at the different postings and different roles, and that's the same again. It really does vary on which department you're in.
So with your different departments, I mean, we've heard a story about you being involved in the Millennium Dome robbery of the diamonds, and then situations, of course, of vehicles being stolen and trying to have that instinct that I need to do a stop and search.
Yeah.
What other situations have you been involved with whereby our viewers at home could be really enticed by and think, oh, I would love to do something like that, and I'm willing to do the 2 years of training that's required. I would do that because in return I would get a job which is for future as well. It would give you a good retirement. You can work your way up to your retirement in working within the police, definitely.
Well, it's really interesting because about 10 years ago, so it was about 11 years ago now, so I was on this specialist team where we used to do a lot of different roles and doing searches. So then I said to my wife, I'm going to settle down a bit now because I'm going to go to Kent Police College, and that a role which I'm doing now as an inspector came up as a sergeant. So I'm going to be doing the positive action sergeant. So I said it'd be nice 9 to 5, and I'll be home with the kids. And what happened was 2 weeks later we had the biggest cash robbery we've had in this country at Tunbridge, where there's £53 million which was stolen in cash.
Wow.
So you can imagine the scale of the investigation, and basically, wherever you were, you got dragged onto the investigation. So,
hello.
Hello.
हाँ जी कौन बोल रहे हैं जी कितना बोल रहे हो
हेलो सत श्री अकाल
सत श्री अकाल
जी
सलाह तो बोल रहे हैं
थोड़ा नाम की बहन जी
मिसेस खेला कुलविंदर खेला बोल
थोड़ा कंफ्यूज हो गया कि गल कोई गल नहीं जो नाम नहीं दसना अपने इंस्पैक्टर साहब सुन रहे हैं ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੀ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ
हाँ जी मैं ਤਾਂ ਭਾਜੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਸੀਗਾ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਦੇਖ ਕੇ ਬੜੀ ਖੁਸ਼ੀ ਹੋਈ ਤੇ ਇੱਕ ਦਸਤਾਰਧਾਰੀ ਸਿੱਖ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆ ਆਪਣੇ ਇੰਨੀ ਵਧੀਆ ਜੌਬ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਤੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਮਾਣ ਹੈ ਇਸ ਗੱਲ ਦਾ ਤੇ ਨਾਲ ਨਾਲ ਉਹਦੇ ਮੈਂ ਜਾਣਦੀ ਹਾਂ ਭਾਜੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਭਾਜੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਸੇਵਾ ਵੀ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਕਰਾਟਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਗ੍ਰੇਸ ਸੈਂਟਰ ਤੋਂ ਨਾ ਹਾਂਜੀ ਤੇ ਭਾਜੀ ਨੂੰ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਯਾਦ ਹੋਵੇਗਾ ਕਿ ਮੇਰੀਆਂ ਲੜਕੀਆਂ ਵੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਕਲੱਬ ਆਉਂਦੀਆਂ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਹਾਂ ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਭੈਣ ਜੀ ਤਾਂ I do many different roles, and one of my other passions ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਹੈ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਛੋਟਾ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਤੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਤੇ ਕਰਾਟੀ ਕਰਦਾ ਜੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਤੇ ਸਿਖਾਲ ਦਾ ਵੀ ਆ
ਤੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਜਾਣ ਕੇ ਬੜੀ ਖੁਸ਼ੀ ਹੋਈ ਕਿ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਪਤਾ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਆ
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਹੁਣ ਤਾਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਜਾਣ ਕੇ
ਭਾਜੀ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਕੰਮ ਆਪਣੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਨਕਰੇਜ ਕਰੋ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਫੋਲੋ ਕਰਨ ਸੇਮ ਪ੍ਰੋਫੈਸ਼ਨ ਜਾਣ
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਹਾਂਜੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਮੇਰੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਵੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦੇਖ ਰਹੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਪਛਾਣ ਲਿਆ ਭਾਜੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ
ਅੱਛਾ ਜੀ
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਵਾਉ ਆਪਣੇ ਭਾਜੀ ਇਕਬਾਲ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਾਣਦੇ ਹੋਣ ਇਕਬਾਲ ਨੂੰ
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਜੀ ਪੁਰਾਣੇ ਮਿੱਤਰ ਆ ਜੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਇਕਬਾਲ ਸਿੰਘ ਹੈ ਜੀ ਤੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ ਜੌਬ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਲਾਹ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਦੋਹਾਂ ਕਲੱਬਾਂ ਦਾ ਗ੍ਰੇਵਜ਼ਨ ਕਲੱਬ ਤੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਲੋ ਕਲੱਬ ਦਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ ਰਿਲੇਸ਼ਨਸ਼ਿਪ ਹੈ ਜੀ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਤੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਇਨਕਰੇਜ ਇਹੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਆਪਣੇ
ਹਾਂਜੀ
youth
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਨੂੰ
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਭਾਜੀ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਬੜੀ ਖੁਸ਼ੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਜਦੋਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਦਸਤਾਰਧਾਰੀ ਸਿੱਖ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਵਧੀਆ ਜੌਬਾਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਹਨਾ
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਜੀ
ਭੈਣ ਜੀ ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਸ਼ੁਕਰਾਨਾ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣਾ ਇੰਟਰਸਟ ਦਿਖਾਇਆ ਬਹੁਤ ਅੱਛਾ ਲੱਗਿਆ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਕਲਚਰ ਨਾਲ ਜੁੜੇ ਰਹਿਣਾ
It's really nice to hear the
बहुत अच्छा
guest
है।
that just called in. It's really nice to hear
पर
the fact that her
मामा
children are watching as
मामा
well.
जी कहता थे बच्चे कितने हो क्यों नहीं कर रहे
Give them time. We'll give them time. But please do carry on with your story because I think that's so intriguing.
And so I was saying to the wife, you know, this was going to happen. So then this robbery happened. So then I got you know, taken on to the investigation, and the leading investigators who were on there, they said, you know, you're doing such a good job, because I'd had a very tactical background before, and so at this stage I got involved more with the investigation. And after a month, they said, you know, we're going to give you one of the teams. So there was 4 teams, you know, doing the investigation. So it was quite daunting at the time. You can imagine the whole world media is focused on you. And at that time, I think I had about 26 people, you know, working in my team, and there were civilian investigators and DCs as well. But you know, totally different. Really enjoyed it, and although I'd had a technical background, this time it was more investigation. But I could put, you know, a lot of my skills from the tactical side.
You can be quite versatile, and I think within the police force,
so
you've got more opportunities. Yeah.
And you know, as a result, you know, that investigation, you know, lasted quite a while, and you know, there was arrests made in this country. There was arrests made abroad as well.
Wow.
But it was again, it was one of those where you'd come home and you see the news, and there's stuff on there, and then all day you've been involved with you know, a part of the investigation, and some of it with the media, you know, which you couldn't say anyway. It was like that was slightly different from how it was,
Yeah.
you know.
one thing I don't अपने पैंजी जिन्होंने ने सलाह तो रिंग किया पैंजी बहुत अच्छा लगा कि तुसी appreciate किया अपने सिक्की च बैठ के इन्होंने but the most important thing is मैं थोड़ा दाद देना उन्हें दिल की गहराइयाँ तो थोड़ा मैं मुबारकबाद देना अगर तुसी दस्तार रखे सिखों ने तुसी represent कर दे you are a handsome man, you're a smart man, you're a full of confidence man और तुसी डेली represent कर दे we proud to see you कि जब तुसी किसी class ਨੂੰ attend करते हो and people don't know who's going to walk into attend the class give a lecture and Sadar Anda and you know you make an impact and we feel so proud about it.
It's just a complete different impact,
isn't it?
Of, you know, someone being a policeman, but then someone being a Sardar and being a policeman. It's
and then giving an impact to the class.
And you know, in relation to the lady that just called in, you give so much actually back to the community, even outside of your role. I mean, you teach children karate, if I'm not mistaken, we just heard. I mean, I think that just says a lot about you as a person as well. You're in your job. You've pulled your job and you all the way you could possibly, and you've been there for such a long time. But outside, you haven't just thought to yourself, okay, I'm just going to be at home. I'm just going to be like, you've thought, I'm going to give back to that community, and that's such a nice thing to learn.
Everything in Inspector Balwinder, everything except one thing. I rude nahi hai. I think it's very soft. He's not,
We haven't seen that side of him. I don't think we need to see that side of him.
I can't see him stopping a car and being a...
I think it's because we're so used to seeing you for you. I think we can't see that side of you, how you might be aggressive.
Sorry, call
Yeah,
just call
Hello?
हेलो जी
Hello जी, वाहिगुरू जी खालसा, वाहिगुरू जी की फतेह। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿੱਥੋਂ ਬੋਲਦੇ ਆ?
ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਤੁਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਨਾਮ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੱਸੋ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਮੇਰਾ ਨਾਮ ਜਨਕੁਰ ਸਬੂਲਿਸ਼ ਤੋਂ ਬੋਲਦਾ ਰਾਈਟ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਜੀ
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਦੇਖ ਰਿਹਾ ਪਾਲੀ ਜੀ ਤੇ ਬੱਚੀ ਸਾਡੇ
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਤੇ ਸਿੰਘ ਇਜ਼ ਕਿੰਗ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਮਹਿਮਾਨ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਫਸਰ ਹਨ
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਦੇਖ ਕੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਖੁਸ਼ੀ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ
ਤਾਂ ਜੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਚੰਗੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ। I'm glad ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਾਲ ਕੀਤਾ।
ਪਰ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਾਡੀ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਨੇ ਫਲਾਈ ਹੈ ਗੁਰੂ ਗੋਬਿੰਦ ਸਿੰਘ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਇਹ ਹਰ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਹੀ ਤਰੱਕੀ ਤੇ ਰਾਹ ਤੇ ਚੱਲਦੇ ਨੇ ਔਰ ਪੂਰਨ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਇਸ ਵਰਦੀ ਚ ਕਹਿ ਲਓ ਆਪਾਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਸਿੱਖ ਕਰਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਾਲ ਤੇ ਦੇਖ ਕੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਖੁਸ਼ੀ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਮੈਨੂੰ
ਭਾਜੀ ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਮਿਹਰਬਾਨੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਅੱਛਾ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਹੈ। मैं तो पहले क्या कहते हैं बड़ी मैं अपने दिल की गहराइयों तो मुबारकबाद दी थी भाजी देखो अपनी कम्यूनिटी बहुत प्राउड फील करती है वी लाइक टू सी मोर ऐसे करके सी शो किया कि यू नो बेशक दी तुसी
more people who are in particular jobs but who obviously have an appearance of Sikhi, quite obvious, need to come forward and actually show it. It's not difficult to be out there and do well if you have embraced Sikhi in that way.
Exactly.
And I think that's what a lot of people fear. Oh, I don't know if I can go in this job role. I don't know how I'm going to be taken in this job role if I decide to take on Sikhi in that way, or if I decide to keep a distar.
बहुत अच्छा किया ऐसा सिर्फ आंसर रहेगा pick up the call and call करके
Oh yeah, definitely.
simple as that
Yeah, definitely. I think you showed a lot of confidence to our
सारे सारे previous same सवाल ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਦਿਮਾਗ ਚ ਹੈਗੇ
of course.
ਤੇ ਇਹ ਭਾਜੀ ਜੇ ਹੁਣ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਭਈ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਬਲੀਫ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਜੀ ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੈਗਾ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਦਾ ਆਪਣੇ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਸਿੱਖ ਇਤਿਹਾਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਚੜ੍ਹਦੀ ਕਲਾ ਚ ਰਹੋ
ਹਾਂ
ਸੋ ਅਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਹੁਣ ਜਦੋਂ ਕੰਮ ਤੇ ਵੀ ਜਾਈਦਾ ਮੱਥਾ ਟੇਕ ਕੇ ਜਾਈਦਾ ਵੀ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਵੀ ਚੜ੍ਹਦੀ ਕਲਾ ਚ ਰੱਖਣਾ ਸੋ ਵਾਈ ਵੀ ਡੀਲ ਵਿਦ ਵੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਮਿਹਰ ਹੈ ਵੀ then you do the right
ਬੜੀ
thing
ਪੰਜ ਬੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਫਿਰ ਜਿੰਨਾ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਸ਼ੁਕਰਾਨਾ ਕਰਾਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਘੱਟ honestly ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਸ਼ੁਕਰਾਨਾ ਕਰਕੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਏ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣਾ ਟਾਈਮ ਕੱਢ ਕੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਨੂੰ encourage ਕਰਦੇ ਤੇ
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਜੁਆਇਨ ਕਰਨ ਕੁਝ ਮਦਦ ਹੋ ਸਕੇ
Actually,
ਸਾਡੇ ਭਾਜੀ ਬੜਾ ਕੁਝ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਏ ਸੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ on behalf of Akaal channel ਤਾਨੀਆ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਕੁਝ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪ੍ਰੈਜ਼ੈਂਟ ਕਰਨਾ ਤੇ thank you
This is our way of saying thank you.
Thank you so much.
We have a small little letter for you because I think that you've been by far one of our most loveliest guests. You've come from so far to join us on the Late Show.
Thank you. This is
so
very
we'd like
nice,
to
yeah.
thank you on behalf of Akaal channel for actually sitting here on 2 shows with us,
Thank you.
providing great information to our viewers at home, in particular the younger generation who can be quite confused at times. But in general, for being such a lovely person that you are.
See, I was going to give him to the chief constable, but I can't wait till Monday, so I think the wife will be quite pleased to get this tomorrow. So, no, that's really nice of you.
I think you deserve it.
And I think generally, and this is, I'm passionate about this because when we look at our, and you know, around the world, there's people who've got the values and principles, you know, what we believe in. And I see that in Sikhism. And then, Maharaj ji ne apan banaya hai, if when you say saint soldier, chahe police, you meant to be policing, you know, the whole community. And this gives me the opportunity. So, and I encourage others to do that. Sorry.
ਹਰ ਲਾਈਫ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹਰ ਬੰਦੇ ਦਾ ਰੋਲ ਮਾਡਲ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਨਾ ਕੋਈ ਯੂ نو ਯੂ ਆਲਵੇਸ ਪਿਕ ਅਪ ਕਿ ਮੇਰਾ ਰੋਲ ਮਾਡਲ ਹੈਗਾ
ਹਾਂ
ਭਾਜੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਦੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਬਾਪ ਰੋਲ ਮਾਡਲ ਹੈ ਐਂਡ ਆਰ ਦੇ ਅੰਡਰ ਪ੍ਰੈਸ਼ਰ ਥਿੰਕਿੰਗ ਕਿ ਯਾਰ ਸਾਡਾ ਬਾਪ ਇਜ਼ ਸੋ ਵੈਲ ਨੋਨ ਐਂਡ ਸੋ ਫੈਂਟੈਸਟਿਕ ਜੌਬ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਦ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਇਨ ਦ ਮੀਡੀਆ they need to meet your challenge, your standard.
How is each individual?
I think I could answer that question because I think on behalf of a younger generation, to our parents, if your parents of course are in a prestige position of their work, I think of course children should be inspired by their parents and
Absolutely.
see their parents as a challenge that I wish even if I can get as close as what my parents have achieved, or even if I could do better, which is very difficult anyway for any child, then my parent would be proud of me. I think for every child born in that situation, if your father is a police, inspector, should I say, of course it does, aspire the child to think, I want to be like my dad.
We got 2.5 minutes, Paji, मैं चाहूँगा कि तुसी अपने वालों अपने viewers कैमरे वाल देखे, give them a message, encourage them. ऐसी बहुत कितना मैं तो चाहने ने तुसी तेना ने डाल के भी done our best what we can do.
So, Paji, it just message सारे audience ਨੂੰ ਇਹੀ ਹੈ ਮੇਰੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਜੀ ਬਹੁਤ thank you ਜਿਹੜਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ TV ਚੈਨਲ ਦੇਖ ਰਹੇ ਜੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ opportunity ਮਿਲੀ ਹੈ ਜੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਦੇ ਬੱਚਾ ਆ ਕੋਈ ਲੜਕੀ ਆ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇੰਟਰਸਟਿਡ ਹੈਗੇ ਆਪੇ ਕੈਂਟ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਲੀਜ਼ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆਪ ਆਪਣੇ ਥੱਲੇ ਈਮੇਲ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ positive.action@kent.pnn.police.uk ਇਹਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਈਮੇਲ ਭੇਜੋ ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਮੈਂ ਅਰੇਂਜ ਕਰੂੰਗਾ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਹੋਰ ਸਮਝਾਵਾਂ ਕਿ ਕੀ ਰੋਲਸ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਕਰਕੇ this is a way of life, for the Sikhs for many hundreds of years, and what I want to see is for the future, contributing, here and abroad as well, because I know there's 106 different countries which are watching this show, so be part of the community you're in, because ਆਪਣੇ ਇਹ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੈਗਾ ਵੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਕੌਮ ਦੀ ਸੇਵਾ ਕਰਨੀ ਹੈ ਹੁਣ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਇਹ ਕੌਮ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ wherever you settled, so ਜਿਹੜੀ country ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਸੀਂ settled ਆ ਤੁਸੀਂ that's your qawm, so get involved in the police service, get involved in other jobs, but for me if you're around Kent or you want to come to Kent, you're welcome, and I'll help you in any way possible.
Paji, thank you so much. In the end, honestly मैं बार कमा करके बहुत अच्छा लग गया और hope सारे viewers भी enjoy करते होंगे. अगर तुसी थल्ले हो website नहीं नोट की give us a call ਸਾਡੇ ਕਾਲ ਚੱਲਣ ਨੂੰ ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਵੇਟ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਲਾਰਾਂ ਦੀ ਆਦਤ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਫਾਇਦਾ ਉਠਾਵਾਂਗੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ 1-to-1 ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਚੈਨਲ ਜੀ ਕਲੋਜ਼ ਕਰੀਏ
Yeah, definitely. And I'd like to thank everyone who's watched the last 2 shows, supporting us, bringing Inspector Balwinder Singh onto the Late Show.
ਇਸੇ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਮੇਰੀ ਇਹੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਪਾਸ ਰਿਕੁਐਸਟ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਪਲੀਜ਼ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਫੀਡਬੈਕ ਦਿਵੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੀ ਦੇਖਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹੀ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਵਾਂਗੇ ਅਗਲੇ ਵੀਕ ਫਿਰ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਮੁਲਾਕਾਤ ਹੋਏਗੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਕੋਈ ਅੱਛੇ ਤੋਂ ਅੱਛਾ ਇੰਟਰਸਟਿੰਗ ਆਪਣੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਨਕਰੇਜ ਕਰਨ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਵਾਂਗੇ ਤੇ ਇਸੇ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਕਾਲ ਚੈਨਲ ਇਸੇ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਫੀਡਬੈਕ ਅੱਛੀ ਬੁਰੀ ਕੁਝ ਵੀ ਹੋਵੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਬੁਰਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਮੰਨਾਂਗੇ ਉਹ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਅੱਗੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਇੰਪਰੂਵ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਅਗਲੇ ਵੀਰ ਫਿਰ ਮੁਲਾਕਾਤ ਹੋਗੀ ਤਬ ਤੱਕ ਰੱਬ ਰੱਖਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।